When the lights come on, she's ready to rise. Donnelly steps up with faith in her eyes. Puzzle pieces fitting, stars up in the sky. With every prayer and song, she'll make your spirit fly.
She's got the voice that can heal the soul. Singing, gaming, she's on a roll. Star Wars battles to her prayerful light. Donnelly's shining through the night. Shine on, Donnelly's, you light up the way. Singing, praying, bringing hope today.
From puzzles to the force, you're always on Donnelly's.
You're our shining song. In the game or the prayer, she's standing tall. With every step, she answers the call. Blessings in her heart, light in her soul. With Donnelly's, we're ready to roll.
Raise your hands, feel the groove. With her faith and her love, you can't lose.
From the galaxy far to the prayers so deep, Donnelly's is the joy we keep.
Shine on, Donnelly's, you're the light we need.
With every song and every prayer you lead.
From puzzles to the force, you're always on Donnelly's. You're our shining song. Shine on Donnelly's. Shine on.
Good morning, good morning. How is everybody on this fine Friday morning? Hope everybody's doing well. Galaxy, thank you for the lurk. I appreciate you, my friend. We have great news. We got what we needed to make it where my room gets fiber internet. We accomplished what we needed to make it happen, and while the speeds are not quite where I was thinking they would be, they are still so much better. I was actually able to play Fortnite last night with no interruptions to my internet. That made me so happy. So how has everybody's week been? I know, Starlina, you'd said it sounds like it's a rough week. It would seem it's finally hibernation season for you. You've broken out the heated blanket and will be residing under it for the rest of the season. I hear that. As you can see, I've got my jacket on. Because it is currently about mid-40s, roughly. And so, it's cold. This week has been a good week. It's been a good week. It was my great uncle's birthday, and so took a day off work to go up and celebrate him. And then on the way home, Mom and I stopped and got me a bike, and I love it. I'm scooting that light over. Seemed a little too much. But I've got a bike now. I'm excited to start riding it, and it's gonna be awesome. Today I've got an appointment at the bank to do some adult stuff like moving funds around. But other than that, it's been really a good week. It'll be laundry day. And then, let's see, what else? What else? Mostly just a chill day, both literally and figuratively. He walked into Wingstop the other day and the cashier said, "Are you here to burn your face off again?" I said, "No, I'm gonna go home and do that." Got the atomic wings. Oh, I love it, Dusty. I love it. I love it. Oh, man. You are hysterical, my friend. You are hysterical. And then tomorrow, we're going to be doing... I think what we're going to do, the plan for tomorrow, is we are going to finish that drive that we started last week on American Truck Simulator, because I want to finish that cross-country drive. And then I'm going to have, I'm just going to cut the string a little bit before where I started my slip stitches, and we're going to start on Sweater Saturday. So it'll be a simulator / sweater Saturday, starting off finishing up the drive, and then we will start the sweater. And that'll be a fun stream, I think. It'll be good. I enjoy the more... I like the story heavy, but I also like the chill, so I'm glad that we can kind of give a little bit of both, you know? And then... let's see, what else is there to update you guys on? Not a whole lot. Next week is Stranger Things, Thanksgiving, and Black Friday. This is true. This is very true. What are you guys planning on doing? That's a good question. That is a good chat question. What are you guys planning on doing for Thanksgiving? What are you guys planning on doing for Thanksgiving? Just a week where you can't catch a break, but at least it'll get better, right? Exactly. Exactly. It'll get better. Everything's gonna be fine. And sometimes life has its ups and downs. Life has its ups and downs. All we can do is rely on God for those ups and downs to get us through them, and to show us what we're supposed to learn through those highs and lows. Because as we read in James, let me pull up this verse for you. It's in James 1. Go down here to James chapter 1. Here we go. Eating too much and watching football. There we go. I get the feeling it's going to be similar here. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. So the point of it all is in verses 2 through 4. Which is, count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. And so, essentially, when we go through those hard times, God uses those hard times to strengthen our faith. He uses those times to say, hey, lean on me. And you're going to grow. You're going to grow in that your faith is stronger, it's more steadfast, because if you can go through that and lean on me, you're going to go through, you know what I mean? Like, he can get you through anything. And so, but those things that we go through, they're going to make it where we are so, so, so much stronger in our faith. And I've been there. I've been through the highs, the lows, the plateaus. It's crazy, what can happen. And it's one of those things that sometimes it's easier to read it and be like, yeah, that sounds great. But it's sometimes hard to apply. And later on in that same chapter, James says that it's not enough to merely hear the word, but you have to do the word. In other words, you have to apply it to your life. It's not enough just to hear it. It's not enough for it to be in here. It has to be in your heart and become such a part of you. And it's one of those things that when we apply it, that's when we start to see the changes in our lives. Because the more we apply it, the more like Him we become. So through those hard times, remember, God is working on you and is trying to help you get to where you're leaning on Him more. No Thanksgiving plans, so that may be subject to change. Let me talk to the parental units. We might be able to arrange something, Soul. Because we would absolutely, I'm sure when I talk to the parents about it, I'm sure they'll be like, hey, maybe you guys could come over. But we'll have to see what they say. Let me check. Okay. I was making sure it wasn't something I needed to know as far as a Discord notification. So let's see, what else is there to catch you guys up on? Been doing a lot of Bible reading in the morning lately, which is good. I love, 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 love listening to my devotional in the morning. I love that it's audio-based, and so I'm able to, while I'm driving in, I can listen to that and it just sets the tone for the day. And I love it. I think for Thanksgiving, I know we're having at least one friend over. But other than that, I'm in charge of the green bean casserole and then making sure that we just enjoy life, enjoy the day, watch some football, just hang out. Good morning, Melanie. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. Does anybody have any prayer requests? Let's go ahead and get those prayer requests in chat. Because today we are going to learn more about Sazazuka. Now, what we've learned so far about Sazazuka, we know that he tends to be more brusque. He's no nonsense. He holds a lot of people to the same intellectual standard that he's at, and he's like, I have no time for idiots. I have no use for, he doesn't want to work with her, but so far we have passed his test and he is slowly starting to warm up to us, and that makes me so, so happy that he's finally starting to warm up to us. It's so good to see you too, Melanie. I hope you're doing well. What do you have planned today? Unspoken for your brother. You got it, Dusty. You got it. The cousin that hosted last year is celebrating with her husband this year, though you would not be surprised if another cousin extended an invitation. Okay. Well, keep me posted on that. I'll ask Mom and Dad if they would be okay with you and your dad coming over. But otherwise, that way just so you guys have that as a backup plan. But do not feel the need to accept if somebody else, if somebody else extends that invite, because Thanksgiving is, you guys are family, and Thanksgiving is meant to be considered and spent with family and friends. And so we would love to have you over, but if you have other plans, that's great too. You're at work today. How's that going? Yeah, no problem. I just don't like the thought of you guys being there by yourselves, like if you wanted, So, This week at work, we had a couple of test takers come in to do a test that they needed to be able to do their job. They both passed. It was great. And they gave me a little break in the day to be able to do something a little bit different. In Linux, we are learning about how to... So last week was all about how to lock down the root account. This week was all about how to set up repos or different programs to help do different things and how to do that. And it took me a minute or two to figure out, like it took me multiple tries to figure out why is this lab not accepting the fact that I've added this repo as it being there. Like, it's literally on the server they want it to be on. I added it. Why? You know? And essentially what they wanted was for you to basically build it yourself. So I had to go into the editor and put it in that way. Rather than doing the add the way that I had learned, I had to go in and be like, all right, we're creating this from scratch, basically. And rather than taking it from the website, Crossbearer! How's it going? How is married life treating you, my friend? I hope you're doing well. And so, but once I figured out that was what they wanted me to do, I got that last pass and I passed that lab, and I was so proud of myself for figuring that out. Because I was like, okay, because I was doing what I thought was the right thing. I was going like DNF, add repo, here's the website, all this stuff, and it wasn't working. And it kept giving me that fail on found repo on the server. And I'm like, why? It's there. And so then I'm like, maybe I need to like install it or run it or something. And so I tried DNF install this, and it said, sorry, can't do that. And then the light bulb moment of, oh, I need to go into Vim, which is an editing software on Linux, and type in everything that they want me to add in. And then it'll do it. And so then I was able to get that going, and then I said, all right, lab grade, here's the lab I want you to grade, and it went pass, 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 final grade, pass. And I was like, yes! I felt like a wizard. I felt like a tech wizard, tech guru. So that was really fun. I enjoyed that. And then I'm all signed up. I decided, I think, just with funds being the way they are right now for me personally, I'm just gonna do one class this semester. And then I kind of think I'm gonna take the summer off, and I'm just gonna start doing start the 1 or 2 classes in the fall and see how that goes. Alright, you stand there. I need to glue my new mini. I made a cleric character for the next campaign, for my Saturday campaign, so here is my cleric mini. Let me see if I can get it to focus. And she has a base, but unfortunately I need to glue her onto the base because when she arrived, she had come off her base, and I was like, what do I do? But yeah, so let's go ahead. Excuse me. I'm gonna take a sip of water. That one came out of nowhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and pray, and then we're gonna dive into the game. Dear Lord, today today we just thank you for who you are. I want to thank you for your love, your grace, your mercy, Lord. In the highs and lows, you're there, and in the plateaus, you're there too. I ask that you show us what you want us to learn in each season of life. Bring us closer and closer to you, Lord. I pray for Soul and her family, Lord. They're just going through a lot, Lord. I know that with classes and everything and her dad's health, there's just a lot going on, Lord. So I ask that you just be with her, help her to gain more confidence in her driving skills. I ask that you help her be able to pass these classes and to understand everything that's being taught. Help me to understand everything that's being taught in my Linux course, because some of this is like feeling a bit over my head. I ask that you be with Dusty Disciple's brother, Lord, and the unspoken there. I pray for Kishu and her unspokens, Lord, that you know what they are. I pray you work in those situations, Lord. I ask that you be with my extended family's unspoken, Lord, that you just move mountains that need to be moved, Lord. Work in hearts that need to be worked in, Lord. I pray over STL as he was at the Mayo Clinic over the last few days. I pray that he was able to get the answers needed and the help needed to get rid of those headaches, Lord. I pray over Pastor Dustin. I ask that whatever it was that had him not in the headspace to stream yesterday, that goes away in your name, Lord. That he feels stronger than ever today, Lord. That it can only be explained by you. Whatever it is that the enemy was doing in his mind yesterday, Lord, help him be able to combat it, Lord. I ask that you be with Crossbearer and his new wife, that you just bless their marriage, Lord. Be with Just a Little Spark and her family. I know they've been dealing with a lot of sickness. I pray for anybody in this season that is not feeling well, Lord. Illness is running rampant right now, just with the season change. I ask that you just help them to feel better. I ask that you be with Melanie and her family, that you just bless them, Lord, and help her workday to go well. Be with Amethyst and her family, Lord. I just ask that you be with them, be with little Zelda and help her continue to feel better. Be with Zelda the Hobbit and Hype the Husky and their family, Lord. I ask that you be with all the amazing Christian streamers. Be with Christian Ninja and his family. Be with Catherine Naomi, Lord. Be with Bearded Beowulf. Be with just anybody who needs your guidance, your wisdom. Lord, your word says if any of us lacks wisdom, we should ask you, who gives generously to all. Lord, I ask that anybody who is looking for that guidance, direction, and wisdom, Lord, that you just pour that out on them, Lord. I ask that you give us a fun time of fellowship today, and let us just enjoy this time together. And in your name I pray. Amen. Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and pause the music and minimize that. I need to change the category. There we go. To the game screen. I got this all hopefully set up correctly. I know it doesn't quite fill the whole screen, but some of that is actually the... Let's see. There we go. Some of that is actually the black screen from the emulator as well. You're so welcome! In fact, you know what? Let me double check. Let's see if I can make this work. There. That works perfect. All right. Anytime, soul, anytime. Welcome back, you two. Oh, I need to move the... You know what? I'm gonna check something really quick that I forgot to check. Before stream, because that was something I was going to fix. Alright, so this is going to get rid of all the chat in the chat box. But let's see how that looks. When we refresh the browser. Really? Didn't do anything? Alright. Let me do a test message. See where that ends up. Doing one more test. Okay, so that's weird. But that did not seem... Okay. That should work fine. That should work fine. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. We're ready. Huh? Shiraishi? I was immediately welcomed by Shiraishi, who gently waved at me. I surveyed the room and noticed that Enomoto didn't seem to be there anymore.
榎本は笹塚と顔を合わせたくないらしい。白石はついさっき来たばかりだ。
くったらね。そんなんだからダメなんだよ。ミネオのアホは。
分かっていて挑発するお前もお前だろ。
Right? A welcome from Shiraishi. What a delightful way to start your birthday. Yes! That reminds me. We're gonna switch back to just chatting for a second because everybody join me. Bum ba-dum bum bum bum. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear soul. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Happiest of birthday, soul. I hope you have a fantastic day. You deserve it, my friend. I hope that you get to celebrate today and feel absolutely loved and celebrated.
それくらいしなきゃ動かねえだろ、あいつ。
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I can't wait to get to celebrate with you at some point in the near future, hopefully. Reconciled? I didn't realize that I'd been fighting with him, and Sasazuka quickly interjected.
こいつ、俺と組むことになったから。一応テスト合格ってやつ。
Right? Isn't it so great when your birthday falls on a weekend? I love it when that happens because then you get to truly feel like you celebrate. You know what I mean?
そうか。
He smiled and congratulated me, and I meekly nodded.
何デレデレした顔してんだバカ。
Huh? I don't look like that.
うるせえ、本題はここからなんだよ。きっちり気を引き締めろ。
We gotta get our head in the game. We gotta get our head in the game. Come on, get our head in the game. Sazazuka threw his jacket towards the desk and looked over at Yanagi and Shiraishi.
とりあえず、こいつの頭の整理も兼ねて現状をまとめとこうと思う。
いいんじゃないか。俺も少し整理しておきたい。
Ooh, your aunt invited to take you out to lunch today and looking forward to Korean after stream. Yes. That sounds so up your alley. Are you going to go to the place that you and I went to with the with our mutual friend whose name starts with R, who plays Yael? You know what? We should just call her Yael. Where we went with Yael and it has the little curtained off booths. Oh yeah, I was right. Because I know there's a lot of different Korean places around your area, so I wasn't sure which one you wanted to go to.
どうぞ。俺は温かく見守ってるよ。
By the way, I'm wondering how long it'll take you to notice what happened a minute ago. Shiraishi was being his usual laissez-faire self. I still couldn't tell if he actually cared about what was going on here or not.
一連の事件が交換殺人ってとこまではこいつもたどり着いてる。問題はそこからだ。おい。
Yes?
さっき俺が75点って言ったの覚えてるか？
Yes?
俺含め柳さんや白石さんはもう一歩先までたどり着いてる。ちょうどいいから今ここで残りの25点を埋めてみせろ。
He just came right out and suggested it so naturally, but my body instantly tensed up. But I couldn't retreat now. This was probably another phase of Sazazuka's test. Based on the fact that he said the remaining 25, I'm going to guess 100. Because he says right here, it's a good opportunity for you to train, so why don't you figure out your missing 25 points now? So my guess is they're all at least 100. She's down at 75. But you are correct. It does beg the question of how many possible points are there if it's not 100? Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Alright. After I nodded, Sazazuka laughed and displayed a look that was so obviously malicious, I even saw the evil intent from profile view.
せいぜい頑張れよ。1時間でパートナー解消なんて笑えねえし。
Somehow I get the feeling this is another Tim the Terrible Typist. Because that grammar does not add up. Right? Shiraishi and Yanagi may be at 100. I doubt Inamoto is though, right? Poor Inamoto. He's probably down at about the same level we are. The grammar in that sentence, that second sentence, it makes no sense. I'm thinking there has to be a period. That's gotta be 3 sentences. And then Tim the Terrible Typist just didn't put in one of the periods. Hold on, I feel a sneeze coming on. Okay. One of those moments where the sneeze feels like it's coming, but it never comes. Anyways, that could be... That actually makes sense too. That makes sense too. It'd stink for you if we split up after an hour. Yeah, that does make sense. Either way, Tim the Terrible Typist.
あまり煽るな、笹塚。それより、どこから話すんだ？
まずは処方の処方からだよね。笹塚くん。
The beginning of the
ど
beginning.
うした？
So we're starting at the beginning of the world? We're starting with Genesis 1:1?
いや、そっか。そこからかよ。
なら、最初は俺
Yeah,
がま
that
と
one
める。
actually makes more sense. That would actually make a lot more sense than trying to split that up into 3 sentences. You're so welcome, Dusty. You have a fantastic day, and hopefully we see you tomorrow. Yanagi threw me a lifesaver as Sazazuka made his annoyance apparent.
星野、X デー事件の詳細はちゃんと頭に入ってるか？説明が必要なら言ってくれ。
As he asked me, Ooh. I think time for some deductive reasoning with Donna. So let's think this through. The obvious choice for this would be I'm fine, because that tells Sazazuka, hey, I think we've already got this figured out. However, can I take a moment implies I need a little more time to think about it, which means Sazazuka would give us a hard time about it. That is true. Tim might need another counter all his own. If I knew how many typos we were at already, I'd set that up. I feel like the obvious answer is I'm fine, because that tells us we've already worked through it. Sorry guys, my nose is running a little bit this morning. I'm not coming down with anything. It's been a thing the last few mornings. Let's see. I can't shake the feeling that it's I'm fine, because my brain is stuck on the fact that I'm fine would tell Sazazuka we've got it figured out, or we can do this on our own. I'm doing it. My gut is telling me it's I'm fine. Maybe I should save. There we go. I'm fine. I remember the basics of all the cases.
そうか。ならそこは省くぞ。
じゃあ本題はここからだね。
I swallow my breath after Shiraishi's words.
交換殺人って結論に行き着いたのは最近起きた事件と過去の事件に共通するキーワードがあったからだろう。
Yep, yes. The July case and the December 8th case, they both involved a stalker. The August case and the December 7th case, both of them involved online bullying. Without these common aspects, I wouldn't have ever considered the possibility of a substitution murder.
でも俺たちは X レイ事件すべてに別の共通点を見出してる。
Which is...
犯人の動機だ。
犯行声明を出してるアドニスは汚れた日本を再生するって名目を掲げてるわけだけど、個々の事件に関してはなぜその人間を殺したかったのか必ず理由があるはずなんだよね。
A series of killings should have a motive. In regards to the July and August cases, the motives were easier to see because of the incidents that occurred afterwards. But if the common aspect included all of the other cases as well, then I mulled it over and came up with... Ooh. I don't think it's revenge. I think revenge would probably be a bit too... But then again, a warning would also be too obvious too. I feel like the warning... But yet, with what we know from Enomoto, revenge could be the answer. Because, oh, what was his name? There's so many... This is true. This is true. I can always open up the backlog. Okay, so all the other cases. So, April and May were the police. September was the school. Let me pull up your photo because it gives a really good explanation of all of the cases. Here we go. Man, I'm still feeling that sneeze. But yet it's not coming. Getting closer to it. There we go. I skipped months. Why is my caffeine has not fully hit? So April and May was the policeman, June was the school, July was the stalker, August was the mobile games. September, October, no information at first, later revealed to be murder. November, policeman crashed his bike into a truck. And then December, a bunch of random stuff. But we're seeing connections between them and the back, you know, like past cases. And then we also know that the guy that was wrongfully arrested, not not Ishiki, but the other guy. The guy that had, like, the radio show. He wanted revenge. But just because he wanted revenge does not mean that everybody did. It could be a warning because it could be Adonis using these substitution murders as a way of saying, hey, you want to avoid this happening to you? Change your ways. You know? Or you want to avoid this happening to you? Don't be like this guy. Well, and those that were... Maybe it is revenge. The more I think about it, the more I'm thinking revenge. And the reason I'm thinking revenge is because if they used, say for example, they used somebody to unalive the online game bullies who had been bullied in the past. Possibly revenge. Or somebody who had been a victim of those bullies. Revenge. But yet that doesn't explain the school. Which now I'm thinking warning because revenge doesn't explain the school. The school seems to be the outlier, you know? Maybe it is a warning. Because their declaration is that they're going to bring about revival through these. And the only answer that satisfies both the individual killings themselves having a motive and the fact that Adonis wants to bring revival is a warning. Let's do it. Is it a warning? Yes! I was right! I chose wisely!
わざわざご親切に告知までして自分たちの正当性を世に訴えるべく見せつけてんのは今
I couldn't really counter that with anything. He's exactly right.
落ち着いて考えてみろ、星野。そこまで難しい問題じゃない。
Mate, well, I guess I didn't choose wisely. I got excited too early.
例えば、分かりやすいのは6月だ。被害に遭ったクラスでは過去に自殺者が出ていたが、その生徒はいじめに遭っていたという話だ。もっとも明確。
Yanagi's words triggered a realization. But the bereaved family would be primary suspects in the school explosion.
遺族に完璧なアリバイがあったん
Oh.
だ。だから交換殺人なんだろ。
Then that would mean that all the cases are motivated by revenge?
アドニスは
Ah.
自分たちの犯行を裁きとしました。
Yeah. Okay, hopefully one wrong answer will not hopefully ruin everything.
実際 X デー事件の動機になった問題は警察者対処できなかったものばかりだ。
I see. The police need definitive evidence of a crime in order to act. Bullying and stalking were tough to prove. When the police did respond, they usually had to take a wait-and-see approach. Although it was frustrating for the aggrieved, rushing to judgment would just generate many more fake arrests, like the May incident.
警察は何もしてくれない。だから自分たちの手で復讐してやろうって考えそのものはシンプルだよね。
だが肯定するわけにはいかない。それに俺たちが考えるべきことは別にある。
What's that?
今月に入ってから奴らの動きがおかしい。11月までの事件は容疑者こそ多数いたが、どいつもこいつも完璧なアリバイがあって捜査は完全に行き詰まってた。
Yeah, because they're substitution murders. Sazazuka sighed upon hearing my response.
お前がそこにたどり着けた理由は今月の事件と関連性があったからだろう。
Yes.
交換殺人という可能性だけならこれまでの捜査でも何度か浮かび上がっていた。
You think there's some margin for error, though it may not be very big. I might be okay. Here's hoping. Out of curiosity, though, I'm not changing my answer. I am okay. Save data 12. Okay. There we go. That way I can hopefully remember that if we get the tragic ending. That means I probably need to go back to save 12.
それが今月に入ってからの事件のおかげで皮肉にも捜査が進んだ。
つまり簡単すぎるんだよ、今月の事件は。むしろずさんと言ってもいいレベル。
確かにね。どう考えても不自然。前はあんなに用意周到な犯行だったのに。
Does that mean I just blurted out what popped into my head? I don't think they're trying to be found. I think they realize they're running out of time and they're getting sloppy. Because... But then again, we also noticed in the last one there was some dissension in the ranks, as far as Adonis. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I'm just mostly going through to... I mostly went there to remember which one was my save right before my first bad answer. So that way I, hopefully if I get the tragic ending, I can remember that and be like, okay, save file 12 was the one I need to go back to. At least the trigger fail and tragic bad ends are very well done for the most part. Exactly. Exactly. I really don't think they're trying to be found. They're taking too many precautions to make sure that they are not found. I think they are feeling I think that they're feeling the time crunch and getting sloppy. Is it because they're running out of time until their X day arrives?
X デーまでに何人殺すかノルマでもあるってのか。意味不明。
そうだな。こんなやり方じゃ、それこそ X デーを迎える前に
Ah,
少なくとも
dang
実行犯
it.
は逮捕される。
I was wrong again. I really don't think they would have wanted to be found. They would not have wanted to be found. You're right. At some point, I became aware that Shiraishi was staring at me intently. Is it is something...
もしかして君？
Huh? As I was being confused by Shiraishi, Yanagi and Sazazuka had sudden epiphanies.
そうか。こいつがいた。
そういう考え方もできるか。
All three of them had begun staring directly at my neck. You who question the form of righteousness that the police cling to would surely find our concept of justice more agreeable. Of course, we do not expect you to be persuaded by mere words, so please try to grasp the truth of the X-Day incidents. Discover our true intentions. You have until midnight on January 1st. We'll be watching you, Ichika Hoshino.
首輪をつけた相手は星野を含めた俺たちに X デー事件を負わせようとしている。そうすることで何かを期待しているんだ。星野のことも我々の良き理解者とまで言っていたくらいだからな。
それこそ意味不明だけどね。ほんと何考えてるんだか。
まあアドニスの思惑について考えても今の段階じゃ答えは出ねえしな。ただもし仮に俺たちにヒントを与えてるつもりなんだとしても、アドニスにとって7日の事件の容疑者はあくまで使い捨ての手駒レベルなんだろう。
Oh, Shiraishi was saying something like that they're just sacrificial pawns.
だってそれ以外考えられないでしょ。
Ad break starts in a minute. That's true, but I wasn't exactly satisfied with his answer because when Shiraishi talked about the cases, he sounded remarkably detached from them. Honestly, it looked like he didn't care about things unless they were something he was interested in. But shouldn't this interest him? Although, maybe I just felt that way because I was really starting to get into solving this incident now.
ボケっとしてんのバカ。
I looked up and Sazazuka was glowering at me again.
お前はまだ俺らについてくるので精一杯だろ。一言だって聞き漏らさねえくらいの勢いでしがみつかねえと振り落とすぞ。
I know. He actually would throw me out. Alright, you guys, we're gonna go ahead and go into BRB because the ad break is just about to hit and I don't want you guys to miss a thing. So, see you guys in a couple minutes. Alright, you guys. Let's switch back to the game screen. With that thought in mind, I straightened my posture and faced the three once again.
しかし、今の段階じゃ、俺たちも手詰まりだな。
What? But it's like you said. They brought in someone for the 7th case, so the 8th is only a matter of time.
ああ。だが、その後。
Afterwards?
アドニス側がこれからも同じようにトカゲの尻尾切りを続けるかどうかわかんねえだろう。今もこの会話聞いてんだろうし、完全に奴らの手の内で転がされてるようなもんだ。
I reflexively put my hand to my neck. When I was first collared, I couldn't help but think about every little action I took. But recently I'd forgotten that it was on. Apparently I was getting used to having this thing on. I need to stay vigilant, I tell myself.
おそらく捜査本部では、これまでの事件の容疑者をしらみつぶしに当たっているだろう。俺や笹塚も退職するまでに上がっていた容疑者のことならある程度覚えているが。
俺が辞めた9月までの容疑者データならある。ただ多すぎて絞り込めねえだけ。
Isn't Investigations HQ having the same problem? I instinctively glanced at Shiraishi. He was the only one here who worked in investigation headquarters.
とりあえず重要参考人の聴取はしたけど、完全黙秘で何もつかめてないよ。ただありがたいことに自爆してくれたから、今は別件逮捕で交流できてるんだけどね。
Self-destructed?
そう、器物損壊と暴行の現行犯でね。
Oh, let me go back. That guy's name is Manabu Suda. He's 20 years old and unemployed. I'd witnessed him being taken into custody, and while he was there, he seemed to have been resisting, but once he entered the interrogation room, he calmed down as if he was an entirely different person, and apparently spoke as little as possible. But...
念のため所持品を確認させてもらいます。どうか捜査にご協力を。
触んな！他のもんなら何でも持ってけよ。でも携帯だけはダメだ。もうすぐイベントが始まんだから。
The event is going to begin soon. What does he mean by that?
何のことだ？
てめえらのせいでランク落ちたらどうしてくれんだよ。こっちは命かけてんだからな。
おい、その携帯を押さえろ。何か事件に関係するものがあるかもしれん。はい。ソーダさん、携帯を渡してください。
ダメだっつってんだろ。ランク S まで上げんのにいくら課金したと思ってんだよ。
ただ確認させていただくだけです。
Is he referring to a... I was gonna say, yeah, he's gotta be referring to an in-game event, yeah.
嘘つけ！そう言って返さねえつもりだろ。分かってんだよ。
ソーダさん、
やめろ！
Yeah, as soon as he said, do you know how long it took me to get to S rank? I was like, oh, he's talking about a mobile game. But until then, I was like, wait, event? Is he talking about, like, some kind of X-Day event? And then he said S rank, and I'm like, ah, now it adds up.
ソーダさん、落ち着きなさい。これ以上暴れると。
うるせえ！うるせえんだよ！
And we can add assault on an officer to his charges.
あそこじゃ俺が神なんだよ。神がいねえイベントなんか盛り上がんねえだろうが。
いかん、取り押さえろ。そうだ、暴行及び器物損壊、公務執行妨害の現行犯として逮捕する。
ふざけんな、ふざけんな。携帯返せよ、返せ、返せ、返せ、返せ。
Suda apparently overreacted to his cell phone getting confiscated and swung a chair around. Thanks to that, we were able to arrest him for a different crime and hold him, but...
彼、携帯を取り上げられちゃった後はすっかり意気消沈しちゃってさ。今は携帯返してくれしか言わないよ。壊れたロボットみたいにね。
そうか。あとは家宅捜査で何か出れば御の字ってところだな。
Domiciliary search. This refers to when police officers or prosecutors exert their authority to enter specific residences to find evidence for a criminal case. A warrant is typically required. But even if they're a sacrificial pawn, they wouldn't just leave behind incriminating evidence. It was just like Yanagi said, we were obviously at a dead end right now.
一番楽なのは彼らが次の事件を起こすのを待つことなんだけどな。
Right? Completely disheartened is a bit of an understatement. Just a wee bit. Right? More like completely unhinged. Exactly, like unless you consider swinging a chair around disheartened, yelling, give it back, at like the top of your lungs, to be completely disheartened? I'm going with unhinged. What? Says Hoshino. I involuntarily lost my temper for a moment in a reaction to the casually tossed off suggestion. Even if we're trying to get to Adonis, to just allow another victim to die is...
落ち着けバカ。
Sasazuka nudged my head lightly.
例え話だろ。それに実際問題他に打つ手がねえのも事実だ。
俺たちが総当たりで過去の容疑者を当たってみるにしても限度がある。
せめて内部の捜査状況がもっと詳しく分かれば、まだ洗ってない容疑者だけに絞れるんだけどな。
それでもほぼ無駄足になるだろう。アリバイが崩せない以上はな。
The inside of the agency went dead silent. Not a single solution came up. The heavy silence hurt my heart. I don't want there to be any more victims, so how can I possibly stop that? Sasazuka was the one who broke the silence.
ま、とりあえず今日はここまでだな。
ああ、俺は引き続き自分なりに事件を整理する。何か進展があれば情報は共有しよう。
俺も続けて9月を追うよ。というか、それしか興味ないしね。
Then we'll...
今捕まってる重要参考人とやらが犯人と確定すれば、自動的に8月の犯人の手がかりも見えそうだけどな。それは俺らじゃ手が出せねえ領域だ。少し切り口を変えねえとな。
Yeah. Even Sasazuka's sharp tongue was reduced to only providing vague directions for the moment. Today's meeting was adjourned without being able to determine any clear direction to proceed.
待て。
Just as I stepped out of the agency, he stopped me from behind. Is something wrong, Sasazuka?
腹減った。
Huh?
飯、付き合い。
As soon as he said that, he started walking. Looks like I didn't have any say in the matter. I mean, it's not like I don't want to, but... Hold on, I'm coming!
さっさとしろよバカ猫。
Stop calling me that! He really can't speak his feelings, I thought as I ran after him. When we reached a busy street, Sasuzuka's feet finally came to a halt.
お前何食いたい？
I responded to his question with a blank stare. I had just assumed he was going to choose a restaurant he wanted to eat at. Anything's fine. As I said that, Sasuzuka knit his brow in an obviously irritated manner.
自分の意思ってもんがねえのか？人がせっかく聞いてやってんのに。
I'm not really a picky eater, so I'm fine with whatever you want to eat.
お前が決めろ。
But Sasuzuka, you seem to have a lot of particular likes and dislikes. I couldn't help but be indecisive when I thought about Sasuzuka's unexpected culinary landmines like the matcha donut. But Sasuzuka was very insistent that I make a decision.
いいから決めろ。5秒以内。5、4。
That place over there. After we entered and were led to our seats, the silence between us continued for a while. I couldn't endure the awkwardness any longer, so I courageously tried to break the silence. A 24-hour izakaya. It's pretty convenient, isn't it?
色気のかけらもねえけどな。
Right? I survived that landmine, though. Exactly. But this place is pretty good.
女が選ぶ店には思えねえけどな。
Sometimes I go drinking with my academy pal.
あ、そう。
Thank you! Thank you! I appreciate that, because I was kind of worried. Sorry. I tried to follow up, but I couldn't help but feel that I was digging myself a deeper hole. Although I was forced to decide suddenly, I felt like I completely botched the restaurant choice. This just happened to be the first place that I saw. Apparently I was weak against his deadlines. Traumatized was probably a better word.
別にいいけど、食えれば何でも。
いらっしゃいませ。お先にドリンクのご注文を承ります。
カシスオレンジ。
I want an oolong.
は？
I want a beer.
カシスオレンジと生、承りました。少々お待ちくださいませ。
I kind of feel guilty for drinking alcohol while the sun's still up.
なんで？
Is it okay to be drinking this early?
別に。お前非番だろ。
Well, I am, but you're...
どうせ今できることなんて何もねえし。飲むくらい平気。
Huh. The situation is pretty dire then. I took the menu without thinking and opened it up towards Sasuzuka. What should we get to eat? There's a lot of Japanese-style food here, so tell me if there's something you don't like.
お前のおすすめは？
Huh? Any of the grilled chicken skewers are pretty good. Also, the omelet, the boiled eggplant. I always get the small fish and radish salad.
じゃあそれ全部。焼き鳥は盛り合わせで。あ、レバーはいらねえからお前食え。
You don't like liver?
食えなくはねえけど。好んで空気しないだけ。あとは生春巻きと塩焼きそば、豚の角煮、フライドポテト、カキフライ。
You you eat that much?
普通だろ。足りなかったら後で追加する。
He looks skinny, but he is still a guy. I masked my surprise and pressed the call server button. That reminds me, I heard that you go drinking with Sakuragawa sometimes. What kinds of places do you go drinking at? I asked as I ate a chicken skewer, and Sasazuka replied through a mouthful of fries.
あいつと行く店はとにかく肉。ステーキだろうが、しゃぶしゃぶだろうが、焼肉だろうが、肉以外の選択肢はね。
She must really like meat.
見てて胃もたれするくらい食うぞ、あいつ。変にこびたりしねえから、一緒にいるのは楽だけど。
That makes sense considering how direct you are, sir. I think I sort of understand. She's a really frank person. Ah, I get what she did there. Because of beef, like let's say she was having a hot dog. They call hot dogs franks, and she can be a frank person who loves meat, but also she's very blunt. Double meaning. She told me how you two met. Seems like your first meeting left quite an impression on her.
ああ、あれ。
It seemed as though he was remembering something he'd rather not. He chugged his second drink, a screwdriver, and sighed.
くだらねえ上下関係のせいで操作進まなくてイラついてたから。日本に帰ってきて一番めんどくせえのがそれだった。
You used to live in the US, right? Is life over there really that different? Yes it is.
割と能力次第でどうとでもなるとこあるし、俺にとっては水が合ってたかもな。でも向こうは向こうでめんどくせえとこもある。特に学校。スクールカーストとかマジくだらねえ。途中でドロップアウトしてやったけど。
Cliques. In Western schools, there is generally a vast gulf between the popular kids and the unpopular kids, and the subgroups within. These groups are known as cliques, and even in Japan, cliques will lead to bullying. What? You dropped out?
ああ、14の時だ。アジア系って向こうじゃ変に侮られんだよ。相手すんのに嫌気さしたから。
He tells this pretty casually, but that seems like a pretty big deal. I cut the tamagoyaki to let it cool off a bit. Sasazuka laughed devilishly as he saw me trying to figure out how to react.
言っとくけど、いわゆる落ちこぼれじゃねえぞ。その後は起業したり株転がしたりしてたからな。
You hadn't thought of that? Sasazuka's the only one who speaks English, so the pun probably wasn't intentional. Still fun though, right? Right? And it's one of those things that you're like, and even then, you're probably not necessarily thinking that. Like, he probably wasn't even thinking of that double meaning. Because he probably, even while he was in America, who knows if he enjoyed hot dogs, first of all. Secondly, I don't think that Sakuragawa would have... I don't think they have hot dogs in Japan, do they? Although if they did, Sakuragawa would probably eat them. Started a business?
ネットで輸入関係のな。3年くらいやって飽きたからやめたけど。親父が IT 関係の仕事してたから、ガキの頃からそっち系には強かったんだよ。ハッキングを覚えたのもその頃だったし。
That world was completely foreign to me. Wow, that's amazing.
別に自分に向いてる生き方してるだけ。日本じゃ学歴ねえとマイナスになるだろ。
That's true, but being able to support yourself at such a young age is pretty amazing, I think.
あ、そう。 別に褒めても何も出ねえぞ。
I'm just speaking my mind.
とりあえずレバーでも食っとけ。
Enough with the feeding me already. I sighed and reluctantly accepted the skewered liver. Ugh. He could be an amazing person, scary or mean. Or mean. He needed to be, or you needed to be careful around Sasazuka. You know, hearing what you had to say earlier, it seems really odd that you became a police officer in Japan. Did something cause you to come back to Japan?
別になんとなく。
But you're the one who decided that you should become a police officer, right?
取り調べのつもりかよ。
What?
どうでもいいだろ、そんなこと。
I was puzzled by Sasazuka's suddenly icy demeanor. Was it something I shouldn't have asked? In response to the awkward silence, I feel like if I push it... So changing the subject probably is not the best answer. As is, well, since it specifically says didn't push it, that would probably lead to simply a case where you're just kind of like, oh, you know, I was just wanting to get to know you a little better, but if you're not ready for that, that's totally fine. Whereas changing the subject, he's gonna be like, well, why didn't you just stick with that? You know, or at least he could, especially in this part of his personality. I don't know that changing the subject is the best way to go about it, because he already asked, do we not have any free will? Changing the subject is going to come across as more meek and timid, whereas not pushing it can lead to, oh, I just wanted to get to know you better, but if you're not ready for that. But yet, so can changing the subject. Let's see, what's the backlog say? That is true, I have the free will to change the subject, true. I guess I'm just thinking if I change the subject, he's gonna be like, well, you dropped that line of questioning real quick. Although the didn't push it could lead to a more awkward silence, whereas the changing the subject, because if we don't push it, then that could lead to, I just sat there eating my skewered liver, and lead to him having to pick it up, whereas changing the subject, that could work. Changing the subject could work. Because it shows that we respect that he's not ready for that yet, but it also ends the awkward silence. Whereas didn't push it would extend that awkward silence. Let's try it. No, I came up with a subject after a while. Oh, do you think that I'd be able to hack?
Huh?
Sasazuka looked surprised. I was aware that I'd said something insane, but I needed to change the subject. I'm not too familiar with that sort of thing, but maybe I could help with that a bit. He erupted with laughter with a look on his face that was obviously mocking me.
いらねえし、確実に無理。
But if you taught me, I could help with some of it at least.
最低限 C 言語くらいマスターしてから出直してこい。
C is an imperative programming language developed by Dennis Ritchie at Bell Labs in the early 70s. C spawned C++, Java, and influenced languages like Perl and PHP. C?
プリスクールから出直せって言った方が良かったか。
Kindergarten?
幼稚園。
Yes! Trust is up! Yay! I think you're going a bit too far. Afterwards, Sasazuka boosted his spirits by completing the goal of eating each dessert on the menu. I felt way beyond stuffed from watching him plow through dessert after dessert. That was it for our meal. Then, once I went outside, the sun was about to set. I averted my gaze from the bright sunset, looked at Sasazuka, and bowed my head. Thank you for the food. I'll repay you some other time.
別にいい。年下の、しかも女に払わせるとかねえし。
I didn't actually think that he thought of things like that. That's unexpected. Donna chose wisely. Ichika successfully read the room and even managed to make the grumpy gremlin laugh, even if it was a little at her expense, right? And I think what helped was that the silence is awkward. Like, thinking of the fact that the silence is awkward, being reminded of that, I was like, oh yeah, not pushing it could just drag out that awkward silence even more. And just when my opinion of him had risen.
だからって送ってやるほど親切じゃねえぞ。一人で帰る。
Sasazuka! What a grumpy gremlin! I'll get home just fine. He just ruined even that by opening his mouth. As I pouted and looked away, what I saw directly in front of me was... What? My eyes went wide. Kazuki?
なんだ。
Yeah, it was clear he didn't want to go there yet. Best to not call attention to it. Yeah, because hearing, awkward silence again and being reminded of that, I was like, oh yeah, by not pushing it, that makes it where she shuts down, which just adds to the awkwardness. Oh, sorry. My little brother is over there.
弟？どれ？
Those two over there. The one with the guitar is my brother. Is something wrong? Sasazuka's expression immediately stiffened when he looked in that direction. But the light the two of them were waiting on had turned green and... Sorry, Sasazuka. I'm going to go get my little brother. Today I must get him to come back home.
待て。
Simultaneously, he grabbed me by the arm.
いくら。
What? Look, you don't understand.
いいから。代わりにメールしろ。今どこにいるって。
What is this about? I didn't want to waste any time arguing, so I sent a text to Kazuki. I saw Kazuki, who was just about to begin walking, take out his cell phone. Once he saw the screen, he looked annoyed. I saw it all the time, but it's still jarring. A response arrived. No, this can't be. Kazuki and Akito seemed to be discussing something, and they began walking. Stunned, I watched their figures disappear into the distance. Maybe he'd been lying yesterday and the day before that too? So, where'd he go? And what's he been doing? With a city like this, another incident could happen at any time. Eh? Sasuzuka tugged the arm he was still holding, and I turned around to follow. Sasuzuka wore a stern look on his face.
気が変わった。家まで送ってやる。
What? As I was still befuddled, Sasuzuka held up his hand and summoned a taxi. Reluctantly, I got into the car and gave the driver my address at Sasuzuka's urging. Sasuzuka only stared at the view outside the window as if he was glaring at it and didn't utter a single word. Thank you very much. I exited the taxi first, and after thanking Sasuzuka, who was still inside, he also exited the car for some reason. What? Why? As I was still confused, the taxi closed. The taxi closed its doors and sped off.
お前の家、何号室？
Huh?
さっさと案内しろ。
After that, he headed into the complex, and I quickened my pace to get ahead of him. As I unlocked and opened the door, Sasuzuka immediately entered, and the first words that came out of his mouth were...
弟の部屋、どこ？
Kazuki's room? Why?
いいから、どこだ？
I promised that I'd never enter his room without permission.
バレなきゃいい。どうせ今夜は帰ってこねえんだろ。
Explain yourself, now. I should have the right to know this. Just because he was my partner didn't mean that I needed to allow him to do everything. Once he saw that I wasn't about to budge, Sasuzuka clicked his tongue. Explain it to me, please.
お前の弟と一緒にいたやつ。
Oh no, what are we gonna find out about Akito? Is he a case of too good to be true? Akito? What about him?
セラアキト。あいつは6月の事件の容疑者の一人だ。
Oh. Akito was? But
容疑者リストで写真も確認してる。間違いない。
my brain refused to process this information.
もっとも6月の事件は数日前に学園祭があったせいで人の出入りも多かった。その分容疑者の数も多かったんだよ。でもその中でも特別セラアキトは疑わしいやつだった。それでも逮捕に至らなかったのはあいつが未成年だったからと完璧なアリバイがあったからだ。
A perfect alibi. That would normally make me feel relieved, but it does the exact opposite. Substitute murder. So long as that was a possibility, a perfect alibi made him look even more suspicious. As I stood frozen from the shock, Sasuzuka began to talk.
これで分かったろ。弟の部屋を教えろ。でなきゃ勝手に家探しさせてもらう。
I nodded awkwardly and led Sasuzuka to Kazuki's room. I hadn't been inside this room for a while, and it was a typical boys' room in a state of moderate disarray. I apologized for the mess.
いい。それよりお前も手伝え。何でもいい。セラ・アキトとの関係性や事件につながりそうなものを探すぞ。
All right. Something like that won't be found. Kazuki's not tied to the incidents in any way. As I repeated that in my head, I looked around the room. The corkboard on the top of the desk had a calendar. Oh, okay, that's good to know. Starting this month, many more things had been written on the calendar. Rehearsal, meeting, go to the studio.
お前の弟ってバンドでもやってんの？
He plays the guitar sometimes, but I'd never heard anything about him being in a band.
黙ってただけかもな。
Maybe that's all this is. I hadn't had a proper conversation with Kazuki in quite a while. I felt awful that I didn't know a bit about my little brother's daily life. What's this? Darkness consumes my world every day. I won't let anyone get in my way. My dream world, I'm almost there. Just a bit more, and I won't care. Sasuzuka, who'd been reading over my shoulder, let out a disgusted scoff.
いかにもありがちだな。
Are these lyrics or something?
アドニス神父のメッセージと読み取れないこともねえけど。
That can't.
可能性の話だろ。
Take a closer look. Strewn about the components on the top of the rack was a number of CDs. I looked closer and saw that the covers all had the same person on them. If someone as ignorant about music as me felt like I'd seen a musician before, that guy must be pretty famous. I wonder if Kazuki's a fan of theirs?
おい、それちょっと見せろ。
It's just a CD, but... After I handed it to him, Sasuzuka looked at it and made a sour look.
一色康弘か。
Is he someone famous?
その界隈じゃそうかもしれねえけど、俺が知ってるのは別件だ。こいつも容疑者の一人だった。過去に5人逮捕されてる。
Huh?
こいつのバンドがメジャーデビュー寸前だったこともあって、そう。
Yeah, I just remembered that. Gaimu, the corpse dream's dream becomes a corpse. Pun headlines like that dominated the papers. Their lead vocalist, Yasuhiro Ishiki, shoved a man who was harassing him onto the train tracks, killing them. Another man who had been there was also trying to de-escalate the situation, but he was falsely arrested as well. Only after the testimony of many witnesses were heard did the incident finally get cleared up. It was not murder, but an accident. Ishiki was proven innocent, but the arrest submarined his career. His dreams of music superstardom were dead and buried.
悲劇のボーカリストとも言われてた。確か当時組んでたバンド、ガイムだったか。それも事件が原因で解散したはずだ。人生壊されたと言っても過言じゃね 警察に対しては相当恨みがあるだろうな。
I think Kazuki was listening to his CD simply because he liked their music. To be related to a person like that is... Mistaken arrest has been added to materials. As I scanned the top of the desk, a pink envelope caught my attention. Atop the simple desk, this letter stood in contrast to its surroundings. Is it a love letter, maybe?
読め。
What? Isn't that going too far?
見た後封筒に戻せば問題ねえだろ。
I muttered an apology to Kazuki in my head and took the letter out of the envelope.
なんだこれ。ファンレター。
Oh, Hana! Yes. Things like, "You're great on guitar, you have a great future ahead, I'm cheering for you," and so on were written very meticulously. It doesn't feel like this is being written about Kazuki. What's written here describes a Kazuki that I don't know.
送り主は花。ハンドルネームみたいなもんか。何熟読してんだよ。そんな面白いことでも書いてあんの？
No, it's not that.
おい、ここ見てみろ。
Huh? I looked at where Sasazuka was pointing. December 9th. Written on today's date, it said, concert. The writing was bigger than all the others, and there was even a star. Does that mean that Kazuki's about to have a concert?
他人事みてえな言い方してんじゃねえよ。とりあえず、もうこれはいいな。
Yes. Calendar has been added to materials.
つかこれ何語だ？ほとんど読めねえ。暗号かよ。
Ah, Gyarumoji. Yeah, it's probably gal scrawl. A particular style of supposedly cute writing used by women when typing text messages on the phone or writing notes.
意味不明。まさかお前もこんな字書くの？
No, I think writing like that at my age is pretty embarrassing.
まあそれはもういいだろう。
Okay. Fan mail has been added to materials.
これ、ちゃんと見てみろ。
Sasazuka opened the CD case and handed it to me. Ah.
お前の弟の名前宛てのサイン。おまけに連絡先が書かれたカード入り。
Right, and yet she and Hana are pretty close in age, I think. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, but Hana is also the one who dresses up like a bunny. So, and refers to herself like a little kid.
少なくとも面識はあるんじゃねえの？
Like third person, talks like a little kid. For the most part. That's...
X デー事件の容疑者が2人も身近にいるのが偶然か否かだな。
I'm sure it'll be a coincidence. I knew if he said that I was just lying to myself, I'd have no comeback, but Sasazuka just kept quiet.
とりあえず、この連絡先はお前も控えておけ。
Yes. My hands were slow to enter the information. Yasuhiro Ishiki's CD has been added to materials. Reject the adults and their selfish agenda. You don't care, don't even pretend to. Adults, who needs them? I just want freedom. This is probably his rebellious phase.
数年後には黒歴史確定だな。
If you can, please just forget about this. For Kazuki's honor, I pretended not to see that note. Kazuki's note has been added to materials. After we'd investigated most of the items here, I was pretty much shell-shocked. I really didn't know anything at all. The kind of people Kazuki hung out with, how he spent his time. I even thought that his guitar playing was just a little hobby or something. I couldn't stop shaking.
星野、しっかりしろ。
Sasazuka. It was so scary that I couldn't take it. What should I... If something happened to Kazuki... Exactly, because now you can kind of piece together, okay, who is Hana? Who are all these people that are being referred to? Who is Ishiki? If Kazuki... If he's tied to the incidents, Kazuki will... Right as I was about to fall to my knees. Aww. His heart grew one size that day. I was clinging on to his arm without thinking.
まだ何も分かってねえ。だから調べてんだろ。
His quiet voice filled my ear.
冷静になれ。
He put my head on his shoulder and patted me.
お前がしっかりしなくてどうすんだよ。
He patted me to help me keep me calm. But tears started flowing like a deluge. My voice cracked as I sobbed. If Kazuki, if he was involved with the incidents, then I...
だとしたらどうする？
The words pierced right into my heart.
弟可愛さに見逃すのか？
My head froze immediately.
もし事件に関わりがあるとして、これから起こるかもしれない犯罪を見逃すのか？
一番楽なのは彼らが次の事件を起こすのを待つことなんだけどな。
What? Even if we are trying to get to Adonis, to just allow another victim to die is... I'm the worst. I didn't have the right to rebuke Shiraishi. As that thought ran through my head, Sasazuka quietly asked,
姉として、警察官として、今のお前にできることは？
My brain was running in circles and I couldn't find the right words to say. But this time, Sasazuka quietly and patiently waited for me to compose my thoughts. I nervously racked my brain for an answer even though I didn't have a time limit. I'll investigate, I said as if trying to squeeze the words out. Exactly, and now with Kazuki and Akito's potential involvement with Adonis too, playing Sasazuka's verse would spoil certain things for Enomoto's route. Exactly. Exactly. I'll investigate thoroughly in order to find concrete proof that Kazuki's not involved. And if he is involved, so I can be prepared to stop him no matter what.
よく言った。
He voiced that sentiment with a small chuckle that tickled my ears.
そうでなきゃ、一日持たずにパートナー失格になるとこだ。
Although his brusque way of phrasing things hadn't changed, it felt pretty kind now.
仕方ねえから俺も協力してやる。だからさっさと頭切り替えろ。
Okay.
もう少しくらいならこうしててやるから。
Sasazuka continued to not mind my hand clinging onto his jacket and didn't have an unkind comment about it. Right? There's a reasonable person in there somewhere. It's deep in there, but he's somewhere. That was my only relief. Later on, Sasazuka looked up the concert information and even got me the tickets. Apparently the show was tonight at 7. I have to get a hold of myself. Inside the taxi, I quickly took a peek at Sasazuka as he sat next to me. Everything will be fine. I was worried about Kazuki, but nothing would come of grieving right now. I trusted Kazuki. He wasn't the type who would commit crimes. I knew that better than anyone. Besides, I've got a reliable partner pitching in. He said that he'll help out also. Then all I could do was my best as well, to prove Kazuki's innocence. It'll all be fine, I'm sure. Alright, you guys, I will be right back. I need a quick bio break, so I'm going to go ahead and run ads a little bit early, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, you guys. Thank you for sitting through that. Words spoken aloud will definitely come true. I began to rely on Sasazuka wholeheartedly since he had somehow inspired me to believe that way. Whoa.
うるせ。
There was a throng of people in front of the concert club. Many girls were decked out in gaudy fashion. These girls must have been groupies. Term used to describe women who become obsessed with a musical act and follow them passionately. Sasazuka, don't we stand out?
平気な顔してろ。挙動ってる方が浮いて見える。
Okay. Despite his instruction, I was unable to adapt to the atmosphere and I was looking around. Then,
てかさ、ヒロのソロライブって今回が最後かもって話。ああ、あれ？新版始めるとか言う。そうそう、今日もサポメンで出るんでしょ？なんだっけ名前、ギターの。
Supmem, short for support member. In a concert, solo singers or groups that only have vocalists gather members to play music for that show. There are times when supmems work for multiple bands.
カズキだよ、カズキ。
Huh? My shoulders seized up as I suddenly heard Kazuki's name mentioned.
ヒロ君がスカウトしたらしいから確実。超楽しみ。え、花直接聞いたの？
Hana? She's the girl from the letter.
うん。いつものバーで貼ってたらビンゴ。相変わらず全然構ってくれなかったけど。でも和樹のことを話した時だけはヒロ君珍しくテンション上がってた。珍しい。ヒロが自分から喋るとか。なら今夜のライブって本格的に和樹のお披露目なのかな。ソロもいいけどやっぱヒロ君にはバンドが合ってるよ。和樹も将来有望だし、もうメアドもゲット済み。
Huh?
出たよ、お互い。花さすが。
This phrase is also used by band groupies to mean latching on to young rising musicians before they get big in the hopes of hanging on to them when they do blow up.
てへぺろ、ヒロ君を追っかけるにもつながりは多い方がいいし。まあね、タイムの求めも今じゃ裏切り者扱いでパッとしないし、私も別のつながり作ろうかな。うちはもう全員切った。ヒロ裏切っといて今になってファンにすり寄ってくるとかないわ。和樹いいよ、初々しくてちょっとくっついただけですぐ真っ赤になっちゃうし。マジ？いいよね、染まってないか。今から目つけとけば食えるかな。ちょっと気早すぎ。でも本命はヒロ君だけだけどね。
おい、その顔はやめとけ。
Yeah, that's a good idea. And what kind of look am I making?
今にも現行犯逮捕に行きそうな顔。
Once he said that, I abruptly covered my face and took a deep breath. Next time I see Kazuki, we'll have a talk about the types of people he needs to look out for.
会場を始めます。皆さんこちらの列に並んでください。
ほら、行くぞ。
Okay. We started lining up for the entrance in a way that let us avoid those girls. We found a spot at the back of the line so Kazuki wouldn't see us from the stage.
オールスタンディングなら大丈夫だろう。ステージからじゃわかんねえ。だからもうちょっと落ち着け。
Yes, but it's so unbelievable. The show hadn't started and all the girls were shouting the band members' names. It was almost like a current pushed us forward as people tried to squirm into the front of the club. It's this crazy before it's even started? I was utterly overwhelmed by the atmosphere, and I tried to stay close to Sasazuka and... Huh? What is this?
だから落ち着け。ライブが始まるんだよ。
As we finished that exchange, the bright light of the spotlight illuminated the top of the stage. The person that was standing atop the stage was Yasuhiro Ishiki.
今夜伝説が始まる。
With those words, the fans that were making so much noise closed their mouths and a rapt silence swept over the venue.
ここにいるみんなが証人。覚悟できてる？
Yes!
足りない。覚悟は？
Yes!
OK。それじゃあまずこの曲からいこうか。
The bass reverberated through my body. I could feel pressure from the sound, and the crowd was going crazy. I was intimidated. And yet, wow. The one playing the guitar on stage, driving the crowd wild, was unmistakably Kazuki, but it didn't feel it was my little brother. He looks like a real musician. Kazuki. I wasn't able to shout his name out like all the other girls around me, but I still wanted to send out a bit of my personal inspiration. You're amazing, Kazuki!
結構やるじゃん。
Yeah. We leaned in closer to each other so we could talk without being drowned out by the sound. I haven't seen Kazuki this lively in a long time.
田舎のばあちゃんみたいな感想だな。
That's because I filled with emotion like I might cry. Kazuki on stage, he looked like he was glowing. This was what Kazuki wanted to do the most. It was probably his dream in life.
悪くねえな。
I think he's the best.
この姉バカ。
Just as those words escaped his lips,
お姉さん。
I heard a familiar voice and spun around. Akito was standing there, looking shocked. As I froze in the moment, Sasazuka feigned ignorance and said,
誰？
He's a friend of my younger brother.
あの。
Akito's reply was drowned out by the guitar. Sasazuka pointed at the exit.
外出ようぜ。
After we left the concert club, we all looked at each other in an odd silence. Akito was gawking at me with a bewildered expression that he couldn't hide.
お姉さんはどうしてここに？もしかして和樹から聞いたんですか？
No,
3日も弟が家に戻ってこないって心配してたから部屋をそれって言ったんだよ。
Sasazuka?
事実だろ。そんでカレンダー見たらライブの会場と日付が書いてあったからここに来てみた。それだけ。
そうだったんですか。
Sorry. If you don't mind, could you not tell Kazuki? I just wanted to know if Kazuki was safe or not. Akito let out a snarky laugh.
もしかして和樹が俺の家に泊まるって嘘バレちゃってましたか？
I responded to that with silence. Akito took that to mean he was correct.
俺絶対和樹には言いません。だから和樹のことも責めないでやってください。和樹、今日のライブにかけてたんです。
Before the show, I overheard that he was being asked by the vocalist to form a band. Is that what you're talking about?
そうです。一色さんには前から誘われてて、でも和樹は今の自分の実力じゃ足りないって。そうしたら一色さんが言ったんです。今日のライブが見事成功してファンの子たちが認めてくれたら一緒にやろうって。俺は和樹の応援がしたくて、だから言ったんです。俺の家に泊まることにすればいいって。家じゃどうしても思い切り弾けないから練習するための時間が欲しいっていう和樹に時間をあげたくて。
Akito bowed his head and apologized. Sasazuka watched him like a hawk. From my point of view, Akito wasn't a suspect. He was an important friend to Kazuki. That's probably why my feelings overtook my brain and those words tumbled out of my mouth. Polyglot, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. So was I someone that was just interfering with Kazuki's dreams?
そんなことないです。
But
そうじゃない。和樹はむしろ誰よりお姉さんに認めてほしいんだと俺は思います。
deep down he really does care. Akito dropped that bombshell on me and bowed his head once again.
お姉さん、
You got your first snow yesterday, that's right! Arizona finally figured out that it is supposed to be cold at this time of year, and it is currently, it was in the 40s, and it is currently in the 50s. Hey bro, how you doing? How you doing? So what do you guys have planned today? What do you guys have planned today?
今は少しすれ違ってるかもしれないけど、和樹は絶対お姉さんのことを邪魔だなんて思ってないです。
Deep, deep down. You really think so?
そうです。それに、このままだときっと二人とも後悔する。俺は誰よりその苦しさを知ってるから、和樹にもお姉さんにもあんな思いはさせたくないんです。
How's Jojo enjoying the cold weather? Is he all bundled up in his blanket? Akito. Akito looked like he was hurting inside. It made a pretty deep impression on me. I felt his words engrave themselves deeply on my heart. The landlord called the landscapers and we didn't move our car in time before they blocked the driveway, so we had a day at home today. Home improvement, organization, and relaxing. Aw, that sounds like fun. Sometimes you just need a day at home, you know? I've got an appointment at the bank in a couple hours. Gonna be moving some funds. I'll have to text you about it. But I'm excited about this next move. In fact, I'm gonna text that to you right now before I forget. And then tomorrow, we have the birthday party for SNC's little girl, and it's gonna be so much fun. Dorito's bundled up in his favorite furry blanket. I love it. I love it. Here we go. There we go. Sending. Perfect. Sometimes we need those days of relaxing, you know? It's always a good thing to be able to just relax, and I'm sure that Dorito, being all bundled up in his favorite furry blanket, is enjoying having you guys home. After we parted ways with Akito, we left the concert club. Sasazuka, I really can't imagine Akito as the type of person who would commit a murder. To think that someone so loyal to a friend is a suspect, I just can't believe it.
そうか。俺はあいつの話を聞いてて、限りなく黒に近いと思った。
How so?
あいつが6月の中学校爆破事件の容疑者だって話はしたよな。爆破に巻き込まれて殺されたクラスでは、過去に一人の自殺者がいた。
It was a suicide caused by bullying, correct?
ああ。そして自殺した生徒の名前は世良奏。
Ooh, a pumpkin spice wax melt? Oh, that is so cool. I bet that smells absolutely amazing. What? Says Ichika?
世良明人の妹だ。
You'll have to let me know how it goes, because to me, I find that a very warm and home-like scent, and I love it. I love the sound of it. It was such a shock that my legs stopped. Revenge. The common thread between all the X-Day cases suddenly reappeared. Sasazuka continued.
当時、警察は真っ先に遺族である世良一家の犯行を疑った。両親はもちろん、世良明人自身にも聴取はしてる。でも、
Let me guess, he had a perfect alibi?
そういうこと。
そうです。それにこのままだときっと二人とも後悔する。俺は誰よりその苦しさを知ってるから、和樹にもお姉さんにもあんな思いはさせたくないんです。
That's why he said that. He couldn't save his sister even though she was in so much pain she killed herself. He probably regretted that to this day. But even so, I couldn't understand his pain. Even still, the scale of the June case seems too large. Even if we accept the bullying as a fact, to kill everyone in the class is... Don't you think that's going way overboard? Then a shadow fell over Sasazuka's eyes and he averted his gaze.
お前は殺してやりたいほど人を憎んだことなんてないだろう。
What?
俺にはある。殺してやりたいほど憎いと思ったこと。法の下で裁かれるくらいじゃ納得できなかった。自分の手で殺してやりたいと思った。それくらい憎くて憎くてたまらなかったやつがいた。
What happened? Each word that his deep voice carried from his throat was so heavy, it was easy to see that something extreme had happened. I was taken aback and asked for an answer. After a long silence, Sasazuka simply said,
教えない。
Ah, we're not quite there yet with the trust level. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Sasazuka,
ただ、お前みたいに平和な思考回路を持ってるやつばかりじゃないってことを言いたかっただけだ。
he finally re-established eye contact.
だからだろうな。俺には X デー事件の犯人たちの動機はよく理解できる。その他大勢にとってはただの犯罪でも、奴らにとってのそれは 正義なんだよ。他の誰でもなく自分の手で裁く。ましてや法の下ですら裁かれなかった罪
Yeah,
が
that's a good
なおのこ
point.
とだ。
That's a good point. But I'm just glad that we serve a God who says, "Revenge is mine, thus saith the Lord." And we don't have to worry about taking that revenge.
セラー・アキトもそうなんじゃないのか。
But if we allowed people to take vengeance, then we'd have chaos. Sasuzuka laughed at my comment.
そりゃそうだ。まったくの正論だよ。
Yeah, logic says that's what the end result would be, but somebody who thinks the opposite would think that their logic makes sense as well. They would see their logic as the one making sense and us being the crazy ones, just like when the roles are reversed. He flashed a sad, distorted smile.
話を戻すぞ。いずれにせよセラー・アキトとつながりができたことは俺たちにとってでかいアドバンテージだ。もちろんすぐにどうにかするのは無理だからお前何とかしてもっと接点を作れ。
Keep in touch with Akito?
他に誰がいるんだよ。
But
あいつを信じたいなんて甘ったれたセリフなら聞かねえぞ。
He nailed it exactly, so I kept my mouth shut.
もしセラが何らかの目的があって弟に近づいてるんだとしたらどうする？
He asks all of the deep questions, and I love it. He is slowly growing on me with the way that he gets her to think. The way that he just point blank puts her in these scenarios. I kind of like that. Akito and Kazuki knew each other before the X-Day incidents began.
だとしても今は状況が違う。忘れるな。もしセラが犯人だとしたら、そのバックにはアドニスがいるんだ。
What? Sasuzuka's eyes moved to my neck. That is a good point. He does make a good point. Even if it's something Akito might not want to do, he may not have a choice. Exactly. Exactly. Because if he's being controlled by Adonis, that does make a good point about making, maybe he has a collar just like her. Maybe in this route we find out he has a collar. If I looked at it that way, there was no way I could disagree with Sasuzuka's orders. Right? It is definitely one of his good points, because now he's trying to get her to think. He's trying to get her to realize this is, not all people are good. We can't exactly believe only good of all people. Left to our own devices, we're bad. We have a sin nature. And so let's put you in the situation of, what if he is? What would you do? Kobe! Hello! You have frog nature. I like it. I love that. I love those emotes.
とにかく何でもいい。セラー・アキトを探る機会を作れ。いいな。
Oh, the one with the crown is so cool. I love it. Understood. That was the only way I could answer. Yeah, he's definitely very down to earth in that way. Because he's been there, he's definitely in touch with the reality of the world. Exactly, and he asks good questions. Right? W emotes for sure. How's it going? What have you been up to lately, Kobe? Oh no, what is Adonis gonna do? Still addicted to Fortnite? Nice. How are you liking the Simpsons crossover? Yeah, that is pretty cool. They definitely did a good job of blending in Simpsons with the typical Fortnite art style. I like it. I haven't really watched Simpsons other than the like previews, like commercials and stuff when watching, you know, like cartoons and stuff as a kid. But I think they did a good job. Oh boy. Oh no 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 no. No 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 no. Apparently yes 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 is what Adonis says. I watched the news as I got ready for work. Every channel featured the X-Day incident that occurred last night. This is probably also revenge. There were 3 victims in last night's incident. All of them were blindfolded, then they were pushed off the roof of an abandoned building. They all died on impact. It was a depressing start to the morning. I had just let out a sigh when... Kazuki? When I got to the front door, Kazuki was taking off his shoes while holding his guitar. I'm relieved that you're back.
なんだよそれ。ちゃんとメールしてろ。アキトの家に泊まるって。
Even though I knew that was a lie, I also knew that I couldn't pursue it any further. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't prepare breakfast for you today.
食ってきたから平気。てか、お前もう出るんじゃねえの？
And he actually has a smile on his face. Isn't it amazing what music does? Yeah, I do, but Kazuki seemed like he was in a better mood than usual this morning. Perhaps yesterday's concert was a great success and he's happy about it. I still have a little time left. Do you want me to make you some coffee? I attempted a tentative peace offering and Kazuki's expression went blank. If you don't want any, that's fine, but...
カフェオレがいい。ギター、部屋に置いてくるから。
He really seems like he's in a much better mood. I stifled my disbelief and went into the kitchen to make some café au lait. Café au lait, c'est très bien. C'est délicieux. J'aime beaucoup. Café au lait is very good, it is delicious, and I like it a lot. I presented the drink he requested and he accepted it without a word. He took the opportunity to turn off the TV.
見てると胸くそ悪くなるだけだし。どうせお前だって忙しくなるんだろ。
Yeah, you're right. His considerate feelings pierced my heart as I began to feel guilty for entering his room without permission and for what I was about to do. Kazuki, I actually wanted to talk to you about something.
なんだよ。
You and S put up a few things on the walls, but we were just about to drill in the support for one. And S had the drill in his hand, and I shouted, "Wait, stop! The sliding doors behind that wall! Thousands of euros saved! Hallelujah! Hallelujah!" That is so good. I'm glad that you noticed that, Polyglot. I am so glad that you remembered. Wait, no! The sliding door! Hurry, don't do anything! He'll never admit it, but what makes him smile even more than music is having his sister's support in his musical endeavors. That is true. That is true. I guess where my thoughts on that came from is that we don't know at the moment that he knows that she was at the concert last night. We don't know that he saw her. And so, to me, that's why I think that Ichika and I are kind of on the same page as far as, oh, maybe the concert was a huge success. Well, you've been staying over at Akito's house a lot recently. You told me that I don't need to thank his family, but after hesitating a bit, I just said it. I was wondering if you could at least thank Akito for his generosity? Like, maybe invite him to dinner or something? Kazuki knit his brow and looked at me. I wondered if what I said sounded enough like my usual self. Yes? Maybe? No? Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. Can you repeat the question? Anybody who knows what show that is from? I feel like that show is such a niche show. Then Kazuki turned his back to me and responded so quietly, it's like he didn't care at all. Thanks.
何の礼だよ。意味わかんねえ。聞くだけは聞いといてやるから、とりあえずさっさと仕事行けよ。
Yeah, I'll be going now. You're going off what we saw in the first round. Exactly, exactly. But yes, rare Kazuki smiles are always a sight to see. Exactly, like, I love seeing the little chinks in his armor, you know? Relieved, I picked up my bag and left the house to go to work. As expected, the phones were ringing off the hook thanks to the recent incident.
星野、そろそろ休憩入っていいぞ。
Okay. Oh, are you planning to take those documents to headquarters? As I watched him wearily nod, I voiced the plan that I'd thought up. I can take those documents for you if it's all right.
ん？そうか。なら頼む。俺は今日はとんかつが食いたい気分でな。
Oh, the katsu place gets crowded. You should get going or you'll have to wait.
そうさせてもらう。じゃあ、これな。峯岸管理官に渡しておいてくれ。
Okay. After I saw Mochida off, I started to think about my plan. First, I'll deliver the documents. Afterwards, maybe I'll stop by forensics, just in case. Sakuragawa was certainly busy thanks to last night's incident, but right now, I needed info. Fortunately, my lunch today was karage. I can always bribe her with fried chicken. I headed down to investigations headquarters with the documents and my lunch in tow. Right? Nice to see Ichika being proactive and clever, right? Exactly! I love it! I love seeing her moments of having really smart choices when I make all the dumb ones. Like, despite my deductive reasoning not quite being up to par with where we know Ichika is this route, she still has her moments and I love it. Maybe Commissioner Minagishi is out eating lunch. I had thought that that was a possibility, but as soon as I peeked into HQ, I locked eyes with the commissioner.
これは星野さん、ちょうどいいところに。
Thank you for all your hard work. What do you mean perfect timing?
ああ、いえ、こちらの話です。まずはそちらの要件を。
Ah, yes. I'm here to deliver this report to you. This document contained information that was gained from the phone calls to SRCPO, which had any information tied to the incident. As Minagishi had said before, he wanted all documents submitted to him so he could proactively utilize the opinions of the SRCPO.
ありがとうございます。後ほど確認させてもらいます。それより星野さん、折り入ってあなたに頼みたいことがあるんです。
Me?
ええ。今夜の予定は空いていますか？
Yes? Huh? I answered honestly and then realized my mistake. Minagishi laughed bitterly as he saw me react.
おかしな誘いではありませんよ。ただ、署内ではできない話です。
What do you mean?
あなたに頼みたいのは、その場に笹塚健くんを連れてきてほしいということです。
Oh. Now see, the way you could have gotten around all of that is to simply say, hey, I need to have a conversation with you and Sasazuka. Can you call him and meet me tonight at this restaurant so we can have this conversation? You know? Like, rather than going like, hey, you free tonight? You know? Like, just be like, hey, I want to get your guys' opinion on something. Call him and set up something. You know? Like, that would have been saying, hey, I've got to have this conversation with you guys. I'm curious your thoughts on it. See if he's free. That would have made much more sense.
お願いします。笹塚くんに連絡がついたら、私に一報ください。私からどうしても急ぎで話があると、そう伝えてもらえれば結構です。
Okazaki already knew about my connection to Yanagi and the others. But why is he asking me to bring Sasazuka now? Though I didn't quite understand his reasons, I nodded slightly. I'll try and contact him, but Sasazuka is a difficult person to deal with.
心得ていますよ。ですが、おそらく彼は断らないと踏んでいます。では、報告をお待ちしています。期待していますよ、星野さん。
I bowed, though I still felt perplexed, and left the area. To forensics! Oh, there she is! Sakuragawa was lying down on her desk. She must have been really tired. Excuse me, do you have a bit of free time to eat? As I called out to her timidly, Sasazuka's voice was full of... What? Tim! Tim! That is... What? I think that's two now! You meant Sakuragawa, right? Cause that ain't Sasazuka! You think he was trying to be careful in bringing it up, but it backfired. Yeah. Agreed. Because I remember now in the last scene, he said Okazaki when he meant Minagishi. And now Tim the terrible typist is saying Sasazuka instead of Sakuragawa. Tim the terrible typist. You were running rampant today, my friend. You need to go get some sleep. That really was a bad one. Sakuragawa's voice was full of bass, and her face looked like it was a wilted rose. Sorry for disturbing when you're tired.
本当だよ。で、何？昨べの事件のことなら、今は特に何もない。コインは起源で確認中。
I see.
まあ、いつも通り現場にはローマ数字が残さ
Right?
れてたし。
He's apparently terrible with names, too. Oh, man.
もういい？私疲れてんの。
That should be good. I'm really sorry. If you'd like... I felt obligated to cheer her up, so I held out my bento and Sakuragawa's face lit up.
メニューは？
It's karage. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
上等！ありがたくいただくよ。
As she joyfully accepted the bento, Sakuragawa looked around warily.
この前連行された重要参考人。わかる？
Right? Not just this stream. He's been running rampant this entire route, it seems. That is true. That is true. The suspect from the shooting on the 7th?
そうそう。昨日家宅捜索かけたんだよ。でも犯行に使われたはずの銃はなかった。あったのは区民に支給されてる銃だけ。
I see.
あと何日引っ張ってられるかわかんないけど、このままじゃ証拠不十分で釈放もあり得るね。
I heard that he immediately went silent once they started interrogating him. It's looking bad.
ま、今言えるのはこんなとこかな。とりあえずこれ、ゴチになるね。
It's good to see you too, Polyglot. Love you. Send my love to S as well. Love to you both. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Enjoy the house renos and the relaxing and all that good stuff. And give Jojo a cuddle. Aw, love from him and Jojo. Aw. Love you guys. You guys are the best. Please do. Thank you very much for your help. He's sound asleep. Aww, he says. I bowed to Sakuragawa as she returned to her desk, carrying my lunch, and I left the scene. I need to let Sasazuka know about Minagishi. I didn't know why Sasazuka was being singled out, but I'd pass along the information and he could do with it what he wished. I tried to look for somewhere private, so I headed to the rooftop. Sasazuka picked up immediately. Sorry, actually... After I told him about Minagishi, Sasazuka remained silent, which was unusual. Is that okay with you? What? Or should I say what? Probably more a calm one. He knows what to expect, huh? I wonder what this is all about. Minagishi's mysterious intentions and Sasazuka's cryptic reaction to it were utterly confusing to me. I'll contact Minagishi then. I'll go get lunch at the convenience store. For now, I just needed to do what I can. With that thought in mind, I left the rooftop. Minagishi used his pole to ensure I left work with enough time to make it to our dinner meeting, and I left the station immediately after work. Sasazuka! Sasazuka, who was standing at the entrance, shot me an annoyed look.
でかい声で呼ぶな。
So sorry, I didn't mean anything. Because I was completely relaxed, my shoulders spasmed at the sound of his voice.
ああ、失礼。微笑ましい光景だと思いましてね。笹塚君がこんなに打ち解けられた相手は、あの鑑識の女性以来ではありませんか。
こいつはただのペットみたいなもんなんで。
Pet? I was about to open my mouth to dispute that, but Sasazuka's withering glare indicated that he really did not want me to speak.
ひとまず全員揃ったところで移動しましょう。店を用意してありますので。
At Minagishi's behest, we entered the restaurant, Sasazuka and I following along silently. The place that Minagishi brought us to was a very expensive-looking Japanese restaurant. I felt massively out of place here and tried to shrink into the background while they took a seat. I've never been inside such a fancy place before.
どうぞ楽にしてください。笹塚君見習ってね。
Yes. I glanced over at Sasazuka next to me, who was sitting cross-legged and gazing at the night sky. As expected from him. Right? It's almost like Minagishi ships it already, right? I love it. I wished he'd share some of his inner strength as I sat up straight and rigid. Appetizers and the delicate bowls for the main courses arrived, and we continued to dine on the artful and elegant kaiseki banquet. Kaiseki banquets are full-course meals consisting of traditional Japanese entrees served at inns or high-end restaurants. There are actually two kinds of kaiseki. One meant to pair with tea, the other pairs with sake. I was sure it was all supposed to be amazing, but I was so nervous that I can't taste a thing.
お口に合いませんか?
No, not at all. It's delicious.
これ、お前が食っとけ。
He shoved the tofu skinned sashimi in front of me. This guy. I made an appalled look. I don't mind, but...
笹塚君は好みがはっきりしていますね。やはり和食より洋食がお好みでしたか?
どっちも食えますよ。今のはこいつがもっと食いたそうだったから。
As I was about to pipe up, he poked my leg underneath the table and I suppressed my thoughts in agony. Yes, it's so good. I enjoyed it so much. Sorry.
いえ、お気になさらず。よろしければ私の分もいかがですか?
No, thank you. I've already had more than enough. I wondered just how much of a gluttonous woman he thought I was. I wanted to cry as I picked up the tofu.
しかし、星野さんがいてくれて本当に良かったと思います。おかげで、こうして笹塚君ともう一度顔を合わせることもできましたしね。
本部にいた時も別にそこまで接点あったつもりはないですけど。
ええ、だからこそこうして改めてお話しする時間が欲しかったのですよ。
Sasazuka, it'd be nice if you could act just a little bit friendlier. He's the commissioner after all. Sasazuka had already resigned, so it was fine for him, but I was breaking into a cold sweat.
星野さんは 笹塚君がスカウトで警察に来たことを知っていますか？
What?
彼は異色の経歴の持ち主でしてね、とあるハッキングのコンテストで全国優勝したところスカウトしたんです。
A national competition where hackers compete using their skills to break into computer security. People who do well in the competition are recruited to boost domestic security technologies or assist the police. Is that so?
日本のハッカーのレベルが低いだけだと思いますけど。
だとしても君が逸材であることには変わりないでしょう。私としては君ほどの人があっさりと警察を辞めてしまったことが惜しくてたまらないんですがね。
峯岸さん、そろそろ本題に入ってもらっていいですか？
The atmosphere became tense.
お互い暇なわけでもあるまいし、無駄な時間を消費する気ないんで。
Sasazuka!
お前は黙ってろ。
Oh, Sasazuka. Sir. You say that, but... As I nervously glanced at both of their faces, Minagishi formed a sardonic smile.
君の合理的思考には大いに共感しますよ。確かに私も暇ではない。担当直入に言わせてもらいましょう。笹塚健君、私は君に復職を打診したい。ある程度予測はされていたでしょう。君たちが独自に捜査をしていることは知っています。ですが X デーまであとわずかな猶予しかない今、貴重な戦力を分散させることに私は意義を感じない。
That's true. If the goal was simply to solve the case, then it would be best to rejoin Investigations HQ. Minagishi must have thought the same thing, so he wore a composed smile.
君が捜査本部にいたのはわずか2ヶ月ほどのことでしたが、誰より成果を上げていました。特に8月の事件に関してはそうです。ネットゲームについてもシステムについてもユーザーの心理も君が最も詳しかった。笹塚君、相田学のことを覚えていますか？
まあ。
Isn't he the one in custody right now?
ええ。笹塚君は8月の段階で彼が怪しいのではないかとピックアップしていたんですよ。
Huh? I looked over at Sasazuka in surprise, but he didn't respond to this in any way. I hadn't heard about that at all. After I said that softly, Minagishi nodded slightly and continued to speak.
状況的にも心情的にも彼は限りなく黒に近いと言えます。ですが決め手がない。
If Enomoto exudes golden retriever energy, then Sasazuka is more like an angry chihuahua. That is true. Or maybe a Doberman? No, I don't know. He's not necessarily giving guard dog energy like a Doberman would. Yeah. Angry Chihuahua. Angry Chihuahua.
証拠が出ませんでしたか？
その通りです。家宅捜索もしましたが、犯行に使われた銃がどうしても出てこない。
Sakuragawa mentioned the same thing. As I recalled the information I'd heard earlier, I glanced over at Sasazuka next to me. I wondered what he was thinking because he was still keeping his poker face up.
本人も黙秘を続けていますし、物証も出てこない以上、いずれは釈放せざるを得ないでしょう。そうなる前に何とかしたいんです。手を貸してくれませんか、笹塚君。我々本部の人間はどうしても彼を突破口にアドニスを潰したいんです。君たちにとっても本部にある情報は決して無利益なものではないはずです。 どうです？検討していただけませんか？
断る。
What? Ooh, Pomeranian. Yeah, yeah. He definitely has the fluffy hair. But depending on the Chihuahua, if you have a long-haired Chihuahua, that can be kind of fluffy. Not quite Pomeranian fluffy, but I could see either angry Chihuahua that hasn't fully learned to trust you yet, or Pomeranian. He turned him down so thoroughly and so easily that I didn't believe what I'd heard. Minagishi apparently had the same reaction as a surprised look was frozen upon his face.
話がそれだけなら俺は帰ります。ごちそうさまでした。
Sasazuka didn't even look at us as we sat there, and he quickly left the restaurant. Please, hold on! I got up, flustered, but as Minagishi watched my panicked attempts to try and right the situation, he sighed. Yeah, he's not guard dog, he's just snappy. And you never know what's gonna make him snap. So yeah, that's definitely like small dog with Napoleon syndrome energy there.
今夜は話ができただけでよしとしましょう。
Sorry, I apologize for him being so rude.
いいんですよ。彼が一筋縄ではいかないタイプなのは理解しています。ですが、私も諦めるつもりはありません。笹塚君にはそう伝えておいてください。
I had no words to say to Minagishi in response, so I simply bowed deeply and smiled. Sasazuka! Fortunately, I was able to catch up to Sasazuka soon after leaving the restaurant.
なんだよ。お前まで別に出てこなくてもよかったのに。めったに食えない高級飯だぞ。メインディッシュもこれからだったろ。
I don't care that much about food.
どうだか。
Sasazuka just scoffed and began walking. I continued after him. Why did you refuse? You were just talking about how great it would be if we knew the entire situation back at the agency.
どうでもいいだろ。
It's not fine. I need to know because I'm not just your little pet. I'm your partner.
くだらねえこと根に持つなよ。
He sighed and rolled his eyes while admonishing me.
俺には俺の考えがあるんだよ。いいからほっとけ。
Minagishi told me to tell you that he wasn't planning on giving up.
それは向こうの都合。俺には関係ねえ。
Sasazuka,
先に帰る。お前も適当に帰っとけ。
as I watched his back shrink off in the distance, I couldn't hide my irritation. Is the reason you all quit the force because you questioned the righteousness of the police like the letter mentioned?
それぞれ思うところがあって辞めたのは確かだ。俺は組織の方針に従えなかった。俺が目指す事件の解決のためには警察じゃできないことがあったんだ。だからここで独自に事件の捜査を続けることにした。
I wasn't told the reason why everyone at the agency quit the police force. I was certain there was some reason why Sasazuka just outright refused Minagishi's invitation without a moment's hesitation. Even so, I didn't have a clue, or I don't have a clue what he's thinking. What if he still doesn't trust me? Or maybe he didn't want the caller to hear. There were many different scenarios that could explain his actions, but I felt gloomy. Or should I say, there were many different scenarios that could explain Timothy the Terrible Typist. In the end, I wonder if Sasazuka thought I was someone who just didn't have what it took to be his partner. What a lonely feeling. The last emotion that arose was probably the most raw and the most earnest.
Hoshino, 今いいか?
Yes? Do you need something?
本部に書類を届けてきてくれ.
Sure, that's fine. As I accepted the documents he handed to me, Mochida smiled, obviously pleased about something.
いやー、お前が峯岸管理官のお気に入りで助かった。どうも本部に行くのは度胸がいるからな。
Favorite? Perhaps some sort of misunderstanding had developed since Minagishi had made sure that I'd gotten to dinner on time yesterday. Mochida, it's not really...
管理官に目をかけてもらえるなんてすごいことだぞ。今後も頑張れよ。
Mochida cheerfully left and went back to his own area. Tim's infractions are in the double digits by now, I'm sure, right? Right? In this route alone, between this route and the ones in Enomoto's route, we're definitely in the double digits. Mochida cheerfully left and went back to his own area. I can understand Mochida's feelings, but it's difficult to face him. As I let out a huge sigh, I stood up from my seat with the documents in my hands.
ああ、星野さん、報告書ですか?
Yes, please take a look at them. Also, I'm really sorry for last night.
あなたが謝ることではありませんよ。ああ、でもそうですね。できれば謝罪の気持ちは笹塚君を説得することで返してください。
I'll do my best. With that response, I left the area. I decided to send a text to Sasazuka. I'll head to the agency after work. I waited for a bit, but there was no response. I wondered if he was busy or just ignoring me. Or maybe it was both. I'll just check before I go home. I put the cell phone back into my pocket and began walking. I wonder if he didn't notice the text. As I left the station after work, I stared at the lack of reply on my phone and sighed again. I thought about calling, but if he wasn't checking his phone, going there was faster. I hope he's not in a bad mood. Excuse me. And that is where we are going to end for today, because it is almost 11 o'clock. I am getting very, very hungry and gotta have time to eat before my bank appointment. So we're gonna go ahead. I've saved, as you probably heard. Let's see, who do we have that we could potentially raid to? Oh, I know what we could do. We'll raid into my buddy Kayla's stream. Kayla is crocheting. She's in an art and crochet marathon right now. And I am so excited to introduce you guys to her. So let me go ahead and get this going. says intended for mature audiences, but she is totally, totally safe for work. If you are a sub, here is your raid message. If you are not a sub, here is your raid message. It is Kayla's affiliate anniversary, so feel free to wish her a happy affiliate anniversary. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And always remember, God loves you, and so do I.